This was the scene early this morning just off the coast of Port Sulphur. So this is the Gulf of Mexico just off the Louisiana coast. And that's not good. Right there in the middle of your screen, that's a drilling wellhead that is now just spewing oil and water all over the place. That wellhead is owned by a company called Swift Energy. It had been inactive for about 5 years, just sort of lying dormant in the Gulf of Mexico until late last night when it got hit by a 42-foot boat, just smacked into it, a boat that happened to be passing by, and kablooey, emphasis on the ew. This photo was taken by the U.S. Coast Guard, which is now on scene responding to the incident. The owner of that well said today, quote, "It flows for a while, then it stops flowing, till it builds up some pressure, and then it flows again." Not to worry, though. As you can see from this picture, there's boom on the scene. Orange containment boom next to the well. So everything's fine. Back on shore in Louisiana, though, the top story is not the brand new spewing oil well that they've got in the Gulf of Mexico. The top story is actually the old one of those from the Gulf of Mexico. Today marked day 3 of the federal trial against BP. The trial to determine how many billions of dollars BP owes the federal government and the citizens of the Gulf Coast for its role in the single worst offshore oil spill in U.S. history. Even though it has reached settlements and a bunch of other cases related to that spill, BP chose to take this one to trial, which is why we are now getting daily headlines like this one. BP withheld crucial information from government, Gulf spill trial told. A witness for the government told the court today that internal BP documents showed that BP engaged in a, quote, consistent pattern of misreporting. Before the blowout, BP gave the government, quote, a very false impression of what was happening on the drilling project. So this giant oil company is on the hook for billions of dollars in fines. We're in the 3rd day of that trial now. New revelations every day. And a runaway wellhead has caused brand new oil spillage in the Gulf. And those 2 stories were not even the worst 2 stories in the news today for the most profitable industry ever known to mankind. No, today got even worse than those 2 stories for the oil industry. You will recall our old pal, our old decrepit pal, the Shell drilling rig that's called the Kullik. Remember the Kullik? This is the drill that lost power, went adrift, and eventually crashed into an island off the coast of southern Alaska last month. The Kullik is one of 2 Shell rigs to which the U.S. government gave permission to start drilling in the Arctic last year. Whether oil companies should even be allowed to drill in the Arctic has been a point of contention for decades, but Shell was given the go-ahead. Shell was given the okay by the federal government. Go for it. And so Shell sent 2 rigs. They're the pioneers. Well, this is what happened to one of their rigs, beached on an island. Here's what happened to the other one. It is now under federal investigation by the Justice Department over more than a dozen safety violations discovered by the U.S. Coast Guard while it was docked in Alaska. Ta-da! So Shell was the only oil company deemed ready enough to start drilling in the Arctic, to start drilling in this pristine environment where we have not allowed drilling in the past. Shell was the only company given the go-ahead by the U.S. government. Shell sent 2 rigs to go try to drill in the Arctic, and both rigs went kersplat. And then today, Shell said, you know what, forget it. We're out. We can't do it. Shell announced today that they are halting their drilling operations in the Arctic indefinitely. They're not returning at all for the rest of 2013, and whether they return beyond 2013 will, quote, depend on a number of factors, including the readiness of our rigs and the confidence that lessons from 2012 will be fully incorporated. Full incorporation or not, of course, it also depends on one more thing. It depends on whether or not the government's going to decide to allow them back at all. Remember, they were the only ones who've ever been allowed. They were first. And given Shell's mess up there, they sent 2 rigs, and the first one failed. The second one failed, maybe a criminal fail. One of their rigs crashed into an island and had to be towed away. Given that record, the Interior Department is right now doing an emergency review of whether Arctic drilling can be done safely at all. The one company people thought maybe could do it was Shell. And that one company they thought could do it safely just said, actually, you know what? We think maybe we can't do it, so we're going to stop trying. Wow. What happened today was unexpected, and what happens next in this industry is anybody's guess.